Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our roundtable discussion called Smart Urban Security and Event Resilience, Creating Safe and Secure Cities. So we're coming to you live from Tampere Hall, Tampere, Finland, and we're going to take a virtual journey to UK and to Israel, to our keynote speakers today, who are top-level experts in the fields of security, safety, and smart cities. My name is Anina Autero, and I'm the moderator of our roundtable. I have a background in the academia, and I'm the project manager in Smart Urban Security and Event Resilience project in the city of Tampere and 5-star city center. I studied Finnish fire safety policy, and one of the most important findings was the question of social exclusion. Today, most of us understand what it feels like to be lonely and excluded from each other when it's the COVID-19 times, and that is an important factor. When do we feel safe and secure, and how to use smart technology to create safety and security? So we will talk about these topics today. The organizer of this roundtable is the SURE project, Smart Urban Security and Event Resilience project, and I will tell you a few words about the SURE. So our topic questions for today are how to create smart and secure cities, and what makes people safe and secure in smart cities. Another important question is how do we make people interact with each other, and how do we use technology to do it in cities? So I will tell you a few words about the SURE project. This is our general agenda for the roundtable session today. So we have specific questions to our wonderful keynote speakers, which I will represent to you. And then we will have a little discussion in the end if you have questions or you want to make comments on the presentations that you hear today. And we will end in an hour. So that is our agenda for today. I mentioned the SURE project. That is an EU UIA funded project with 8 different partners in our project. So we have Business Tampere, Insta, Nokia, Securitas, Tampere University of Applied Sciences, and the Baltic Institute of Finland. And the city of Tampere is leading the project. So we are working together with this top team to touch the issues of smart technology in an events areas in the city of Tampere. So we believe in the project that we sort of awaken potentials. And we believe that people need interaction between each others, no matter if it's the city area or the event business. So an important factor is how do we create and even stimulate this interaction? And how do we use it? How do we use technology to do this interaction? So it is important to think when we plan for new facilities, we plan new buildings. How does this built environment, how does it affect on people and their interaction between each others, and how does it affect people's sense of security? Safety and security in the cities and events is a driver to awaken this potential of urban planning. And our project lasts for 2 years. We started already in November 2019. We have a bit more than 4 million euros to use for the specific tasks that we have in the project. And the Urban Innovative Actions Initiative is our funder. And it was a really big competition between the projects who got approval, and we were the only project from Finland who got the funding in the 4th call, and our colleagues in Italy and Greece also have an UIA project in the topic of security. So our value proposition is that we create a seamless blend of security and ambience for urban events. So it is an important factor to keep this relationship in a good balance. And also the visitors who visit the city of Tampere and also the citizens who live in the city of Tampere, they play an important role. And we believe in smart solutions, and we believe in working together. So smart everyday security and event security are the results of joint efforts. Nobody can do that alone. That's why we have a network of partners. And this is what the city of Tampere looks like. It's located between two big lakes. It's quite a narrow space, and we invite people to come for the city center area with our event facilities in Ratina Stadium, in Central Square, which is kind of a marketplace in the city of Tampere, also to Särkänniemi Amusement Park, which is a fun fair area, and it has also festival plans in the future, and we are building this Euros Live Arena, which will be opened in the end of this year. And now, today, we are in Tampere Hall, which is an important event area also. It's an event facility also in the city of Tampere. So we are working here, and we are trying to understand what is the normal people and traffic flows when there aren't any events, and what does it look like when we have the events. So the dynamic situation. An exceptional security situation is when something goes really wrong. If there is an extreme weather condition or a terrorist attack. So we are working with these three dimensions. This is what the city of Tampere and the surroundings close to the Euros Live Arena will look like in 2040. So this is the long-term plan for the city of Tampere, and it looks quite nice. At least I like the warmth in it, and I like the sort of the face in it. So this is what it will become like in 20 years. And what do we actually do in the project? And I would like to touch these issues that we have been thinking inside the project. We are creating an AI solution for officials and event organizers to be used in their command and control center, in their situation rooms, that they have a better knowledge on the traffic and people flows and what goes wrong if there's something that goes wrong. And the system alerts them, and that is the Nokia AI solution called Nokia Skin Analytics that does this analysis for the InstaBlue Aware situation awareness model that Insta has built. So there's a connection between these two technology solutions. And since we are talking about how do we collect data and how do we do it smartly, we need to invest into the infrastructure. So we have specific sensors in the city of Tampere, how we collect the data. How do we collect it with video, streams, and with other specific sensors? And we are investing into better cameras, better smart lighting, better guidance system, and also on traffic control. And what is kind of the pie in the cherry is that we have the simulation and preparedness exercises in our model. So our officials, the police, the firefighters, the first aid people, and also some of the non-profit organizations, they participate in the simulation exercises that we prepare for them in the short project. So this is the whole package that we have. And now I will move on to the keynote speakers in our panel. So I'm going to represent our keynote speakers. We are having Mr. Stephen Gregory, the Managing Director of optics risk management, who has built a career in intelligence and risk with a particular focus on critical national infrastructure, protection and resilience, and more recently on large infrastructure and development projects around the world. He is also a UK representative on the advisory of Industrial Resources and Communication Services Group at NATO. And regularly he advises on strategic counter-terrorism issues across NATO member countries and Washington. Please, we are welcome Steve, and I will leave the floor to you in a minute. We also have Mr. Matan Levin. Matti, we call him. He is the senior in SciTech Defense. The company provides a bridge between Finland and Israel in various projects. And Matan has both Finnish and Israeli citizenship. He served in the Israeli Navy as a commander of patrol boat squadron and held the rank of major. Matan received several decorations, including an award of excellence from the Israeli General Chief of Staff, expert in HLS and smart city projects. Welcome, Matan Levin. And also, I will represent to you Mr. Petri Nykänen. And Petri, if you can turn on your camera, that would be really nice. Thank you very much. So Mr. Petri Nykänen is our Finnish expert. He's very much involved in the safety and security related activities in Tampere region. He is Director of Safety and Security Program at Business Tampere, and he is leading the scaling up of the EU UIA Smart Urban Security and Event Resilience Project. And he's also the acting coordinator of the Safety and Security Cluster of Tampere region. And Petri wanted me to tell that if you are looking for partners, customers, or other information about Tampere region, just give Petri a message or a call. And now I would like to give space to Mr. Stephen Gregory. So we will start a little discussion together. And as a warm-up question, I would ask Stephen, could you outline for us some of the challenges that are presented to those who are considered or implementing technologically advanced smart city solutions, and where some of the impacts could be felt within urban regeneration projects?
Well, thank you, Alina. It's very kind of you to invite me here today, and welcome to everybody. So just some brief thoughts, really. I think what we're seeing today is the development of smart city approaches around the world with various levels of understanding on what a smart city is and what needs to be done to upgrade cities through urban regeneration to provide a smart city environment for those who already live there. And the approaches can vary depending upon the environment that the smart city is being created and the complex range of risks that are being faced by those smart city locations. In our experience, working with developers who are creating various smart cities around the world, what they tend to do is break apart the various elements that a smart city integration program would look like, and then bring these back together in a cohesive framework. But in doing so, what often happens is that it creates both conflicts and challenges in achieving the goals that the project originally set out to achieve. So what is important in the context of a smart city is understanding the wide range of social and demographic areas where the connections between all citizens within the smart city environment need to be captured and aligned to ensure that, in effect, we don't create disparity or displacement between those who have and those who have not. So from a smart city connected perspective at a human level, I think one of the interesting elements has been identified in how we have to adapt over the past year. And in relation to COVID-19 in particular, the closure of schools. What this has shown, for example, is just how many people today, and in particular children, do not have access to simple things like computers. So when we think forward in terms of how people are going to integrate within a smart city environment, and the potential for the technology that they need. What we really need to be cautious about are the levels of benefit we think today are likely to be achieved. We also need to understand what a safe and secure smart city environment is going to look like, not just within our lifetime, but for future generations. And to be clear on how technology is to play a key role in this discussion. In developing a solution, it's also necessary to understand the risks that are being created when we design and alter the ways in which we're used to living. The velocity of change of risk can be amplified, particularly within a technology environment. Therefore, the ability of an organization to adapt and indeed respond to change needs to be able to track and monitor these risk factors accordingly. What we've identified within the optics team is that by connecting technology into the risk model, which analyzes this data, this is assigned to monitor the ability to understand the changes that outside the normal parameters can be captured. So, for example, in Tampere, the smart city approach has been developed to evaluate what can be achieved for events that run where large numbers of people attend. And depending on the type of the event, the nature of safety and security risks will differ. What we've seen, sadly, over the past few years are events where innocent people have been affected by acts of violence, for example, in Manchester, and of course more recently in Washington, where events got out of control. But I think what becomes clear when you look at the occurrences such as these, very often opportunities to identify interventions are present. And with technology today, we have the ability to become much more aware of how people behave, the manner in which they go about their lives, and of course, changes that can be observed, which will inevitably flag risks which should be considered appropriate, for example, to elevate in order to provide the authorities an opportunity to intervene and, of course, proportionately respond. But, of course, one of the key considerations will be how intrusive smart cities and those technologies upon which they're built will intrude into the lives of people who are living within this type of environment. We know that in Europe there are concerns regarding how much information is captured and whether the information, when it's captured, should be shared with various law enforcement or other agencies. And I think in the future these questions will continue to be played out, in my view, rightly so, because the technology, the advancement of that technology and the understanding of how that information and the technology can be used, really at this moment in time is not fully understood by developers, who themselves have become very heavily reliant on those who develop and provide the technology. And of course, they themselves do not necessarily fully understand the impact of that technology and what that can bring to individuals who are using that within their own day-to-day environment. I think one of the interesting reports that came out recently related to the concept of a 15-minute city, and it very much exemplifies that thinking about how people live and potentially are going to work within very closed environments within a city environment. And of course, within a smart city complex, the tools that they'll have available to them will begin to stretch the limits of what we know today. So I think it's a very interesting subject right now, and certainly within the projects that we've had exposure to around the world, there are some very complex questions that are being asked by developers and governments on exactly how far they go with the technologies available. So I'll just leave it there for the moment.
Thank you, Steve. That was quite a warm up. There was a lot of really good perspectives, and I would like to continue the discussion a bit more further. But I would like to also welcome our other keynote speaker, Mr. Matan Levy, and ask you as a warm-up question about your feelings about your Finnish and Israeli roots as a security expert. Maybe you could give us some funny details about this question.
Okay, so thank you also for having me today in this wonderful roundabout table. Yes, I'm actually very, very proud to be Israeli Finn. As you probably know, but the audience probably don't know, my mother was born and grew up in Finland. Actually, she grew up in Tampere, so I think it's a good thing, isn't it?
It is a good thing, of course.
Definitely. So I'm very proud to be Israeli Finn. And actually, until a few years ago, I personally, I was born in Israel and I grew up in Israel and I served in the army in Israel, in the Navy actually. And later on, I worked with the defense industry in Israel. So most of my experience comes from the Israeli side. But a few years ago in SITAC Defense, we started working a lot with the defense industry in Finland. So we have a lot of mutual projects. So actually lately we are learning more and more, and I personally learn more and more about the Finnish side as well, which is interesting and fascinating. And this is really what I love to do. It's to connect and to combine between the Israeli side and the Finnish side. So
Okay.
I'm very proud to do it, and I like to do it, and hopefully we'll have much more.
Thank you, Matan. That was really nice to hear. We're really happy to hear that. Steve, I was thinking about when you pointed out some of the factors in the question that I touched with you in the warm up. I was thinking about this accessibility issue and how young people have an access to the computers, how do they use it, and how do we understand them using the devices and technology in their life. I was talking to our 4-year-old son yesterday, and I was asking him that how does he feel? What makes him feel safe and secure? And he was looking at me like, "Oh, mom, that's again the questions." And then he responded to me that that what makes him feel safe and secure is that he doesn't have to be afraid of anything when he is with an adult. So he mentioned the presence or the interaction of a person or an adult. But of course, he's a 4-year-old boy, so he has his own view. But this is a really important topic. What makes people safe and secure? And what makes people safe and secure in a smart city? Steve, could you give us some insights into this question?
Well, I think, I mean, you know, what makes people feel safe and secure? If you ask their own, they probably wouldn't know the answer because what they tend to be is very familiar with moving around their own environments, and they become very reliant upon the things that they perceive in their everyday lives. And as we layer technology into our lives within a smart city environment, the thing that we're really looking to do is to be able to allow people to move freely around, to get from where they need to be to where they want to go, without really realizing that that process is being managed um, from a technology perspective. Like, what's being looked at them, what's their surroundings feel like? Do they see things which are, from a safety perspective, very visible? Or does that safe and secure environment disappear into the background so that it becomes a natural feature of the environment within which they're living? And I think, you know, when I talk to people, they recognize today that the world is very different and that they need to have um, not something overseeing everything they do, but there needs to be a presence in the background to look after them. So the comfort of having something there that they know when they enter a particular location, that their safety is being looked after. And that's particularly important when people attend events. You know, what goes on, you know, do we interact with people? Are they the law enforcement agencies? Or are we looking to put a new layer of technology over the top of that they can understand but not worry about in the background? So in effect, the example you provided with your 4-year-old son with a dog, you know, the dog in effect, which is the comfort layer, is the thing that we build around it today. So when you're planning the safe city environment, very much the thinking around it is how do you allow people to move around freely yet not feel that they are under any threat? And I think that's really the trick to the whole smart city and safe environment we were looking for.
Thank you, Steve. That was really nicely put. I was thinking about, would you like me to show one of the slides that you had prepared for the session, or do you want me to do it later? Because I can share my screen. Sorry that I forgot to ask. Would you like me to show the slide?
No, I can share my screen out if you like, and let's just talk through very quickly. Make sure I get the right screen, of course. So if it's the wrong screen, then we'll soon again. Hopefully you'll be seeing my screen there.
We can see it.
And I think really, let me just move us on one. One of the things that that we talk very openly about what smart city looks like and some of the things that are involved in it. And from the perspective of all the different components that we look at, I'll go through this reasonably quickly because it's a huge amount of detail that's required when you get into the very early stages of planning a city like this. And then do stop me at any point if you have any questions. But really, the first thing is kind of what is the technology that's going to be developed to create a smart city? How are we going to embed safety and security into the thinking right at the outset? And this really needs to be delivered through the development of concept models for the smart city. And then these really form, from a developer's perspective, the bedrock for a safe and secure environment. Now, of course, data and information is massively important. The volume of data that you're going to start generating is vast. And that's going to come from various different sensors which are integrated together. And the disruption or corruption of data and the ecosystems that they are having put together in order to obtain that information needs to be planned and thought through very carefully. And a point I've made here is, of course, that there are many dependencies that you have to consider when you start this process of planning. Physical security, we just touched upon. The environment within which a smart city will operate needs to be considered. One size doesn't fit all within this. So there has to be within the concept model an agreed approach to the risks and the threats, together with the levels of tolerance that are faced within the environment that the smart city will exist. So, what may be appropriate in one country will not be appropriate in another country, and those have all got to be considered in terms of how you're approaching these problems. But this has got to be embedded. And if it's done within a regeneration program, so you're regenerating different parts of the city to bring them up to a particular standard, then what's the impact on those who already live there and work there? Is that going to cause displacement? Are you going to create social problems elsewhere? And this is another key part of the planning process, because people form a major part of this. They are, in effect, the reason why we're putting these cities together and we're bringing technology into play. So how are they going to live? How are they going to move around these smart cities? Are we going to create pedestrian areas? Are we going to provide close transport systems? How are they going to interact with transport networks that sit on the outside of the smart cities? So all of this is about working out how to ensure that the citizens, as they move around, have that feeling of safety and security. And I think the understanding of safety and security has got to be embedded into the concept plan. And that's got to be providing assurance to those people who are going to have to live within, in effect, what will be a new environment going forward. You've got governance and accountability. The underlying premise of a smart city is to increase the capacity, the efficiency, reliability and resilience, and therefore the availability of existing assets, and to enable an enhancement of the service provision for the people who are living there. This is ultimately achieved by creating a better understanding of the whole life performance of the city, but who will be accountable? Where does the responsibility lie between government and commercial interests, and how will the governance of a smart city be managed? So all these things are really important to begin to build up. And intellectual property. Linking data and how data flows in a smart way brings together technology providers they want to capture this information. They need to assess the information and then deliver information to the user at the point of need as to how is that technology and that data going to be used, but who's going to own it? One of the questions today is, do the existing rules in terms of information use remain robust enough, or do we need to ensure that people are better informed about how a smart city will capture and handle that data? And there is a gap at the moment about how much people really do understand in terms of their data acquisition, and data use. Governance structure. So this is really about the arrangements for governance and the accountability of how a smart city is intended to function. And this needs really to consider the implication of a consistency at a city-wide scale, so that whatever is being implemented within the organisation, there's a recognition that the complexity of this is being understood and mapped, because as you get deeper into this, the complexities that arise are quite challenging. One of the most frustrating parts, I think, in my experience when working with smart city developers and developments themselves, and some of these are mega cities, is the appointment of decision makers. So, who are people that are going to decide what decisions are going to be used to drive forward the smart city implementation program? So where is their authority going to come from, and how will the structure of the group be made up? So who are the stakeholders who have an interest in this? In effect, this is going to require clear representation from all areas within the smart city developed to capture and maintain adherence to the plan. What are the risks? Do we understand what smart city risks are today? It's important that we're very clear, that we understand what those risks are, how we're having to face them. More importantly, what are we going to do in terms of mitigating against these in a consistent way, so that they're all relevant, as time moves forward. And these will remain, will change over time, but our management of those risks has to remain current.
Okay, Steve, I'm going to have to pop in here for a while so that we're able to continue the discussion together. Minna, is there something from the audience that they would like to make comments or questions considering the points of view that we are going through at the moment?
No questions at the moment.
Okay. The audience is allowed to ask and allowed to make comments, and we have this specific task that Minna will tell us if there's something that we need to pay attention to. But Steve, if you could just highlight in the main points in 20 seconds, I would be really grateful.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, look, what I'll do, let me just hop forward on this, because this framework here that I've just put out on the screen, let me just go back to it. This framework here covers off a range of areas that sit within the concept and master planning phases of a city development, smart city development, and each one of those requires accountability at all levels. The thing I would say about this is that there are standards and guidance that is now being developed in a number of countries that's beginning to think about this. But the overarching point I think I would make is that the monitoring of risk in a dynamic fashion is absolutely critical now, to be able to provide a view of the outside risk that a smart city may face, that integrates with the technology and the systems that sit within that smart city to make that development remain secure to whoever those users may be. So with this image here, sets out many of the steps that one has to go through to confirm that your approach and your capital expenditure and your operational expenditure are aligned correctly. So I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you, Steve. That was a wonderful presentation considering the really demanding question that I posed to you. Thank you so much. Then when we got this really good view considering the Finnish and the case in Tampere, that is a smart city, I would like to ask Matan you how to create safe and secure cities in Israel. And you come from a city called Kadima, and we were astonished by the information that you are a smart city in Kadima, which is a bit more than 17,000 people in the city. Wasn't that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I live in Kadima Soran, it's the full name. It's quite in the center of Israel, about 17,000 citizens. If you want, I can share my screen and show you a bit about Israel and Kadima as well.
That would be wonderful.
Okay, great. So I will share my screen. 1 second. Let me know if you see the presentation.
Now we can see it.
Okay, so this is not Kadima, this is Tampere. But as you can see here on the left side, picture number 1, this is the control room in Kadima. So Kadima does not have all the capabilities that today we have in smart cities, because we know that it's endless capabilities nowadays. There are a lot of products and solutions. So, but this is, yes, an example of a small, not city, but a small town in Israel that, yes, we have some kind of a smart city solutions in our small town in Israel. So this is on the left side of the screen. On the right side of the screen, we see a big command and control room with advanced C4I system. This is one of the projects that we are having with our partners in Israel, CityShop. This is a project that actually is in South America, but we have also similar projects in Israel. So as we can understand, smart city can be very small with not much solutions, but it can be very big with many operators, many sensors, and so on. So, of course, every city with each one's requirements. So this is one example. I would like to show you a short glimpse of few technologies that we are having in Israel and we are using in Israel. Of course, we can talk about smart cities and products and solutions for many hours. So it's just a short overview. I will show you a few examples of video analytics. So on the right top side of the screen, you see people fighting. In the middle, it's cleaning. And on the left side, on the top of the screen, it's illegal parking. Now, these 3 examples in the top side of the screens, it's actually behavioral analytics, because the sensor, in this case cameras, they do investigation and they need to get a lot of data in order to understand what is the situation. For example, on the left side, the illegal parking, so the car has to park in illegal place, and after that, the driver needs to step out of the car to go, and only once he's outside of the car, only then the illegal parking alert will be generated. So it's quite interesting to see. It's much more advanced for the video analytics capabilities. And of course, there are more examples. You can see in the center, the cleaning, you see that the camera recognizes that it's a dog, and the dog is doing poo-poo, I'm sorry, but the person doesn't clean it, and we get an alert. So the camera understands all this data, and it's quite an advanced capability. Also, the people fighting on the right side of the screen. And of course, we have a lot of much more solutions, video synopsis for all kind of investigation, people tracking, unattended baggage, which are more familiar nowadays. I'll show you some more examples. On the right top side, you see loitering, people counting, license plate readers that nowadays it's quite many cities are using this kind of capabilities. So also here in Israel. By the way, in Israel, we have around 250 companies that developing all kind of products for smart cities. So this is something I read a few days ago from a business magazine in Israel. So in Israel, we have quite of advanced solutions for smart cities. One more example that I would like to show. You can see that the camera in this example, it can count the number of people, it can measure the distance, and it can give all kind of alerts regarding the people in this area. So it can be, it can be used for many scenarios. For example, a train station. If you want to see that the train station is too crowded, you can have an alert. If you want to see, if you want to count how many numbers, if there is some kind of event or any other reason, if you want to count the number of people, you can use this solution for that as well. If you want to measure the distance, now with the COVID-19, this is something that also is very relevant. So you can measure the distance. If the distance is okay, so it's circled in green. If it's a close distance, it's circled in red. So this technology is already been used in Israel. It's not everywhere in Israel. It's more in sensitive areas. But this is also example that we use in Israel, and it's quite an advanced solution. So this is just a quick overview. Again, there are much more solutions, and Israel is developing many new products every day. So thank you, and if you have questions, I would be happy to answer.
Thank you, Matan, for the really nice presentation and making the comments to this challenging question that I posed to you. If there aren't any questions from the audience or any comments from the audience, maybe we could do some sort of a journey around the findings, and then I will leave the floor to Mr. Petri Nykänen, who will tell us what will be going on tomorrow in the Smart City Week and the specific tracks on safety and security. So the big topic for the Tampere Smart City Week is that we are supposed to grow smartly and together. So I made some notes considering your points that you made really nicely, Stephen and Matan. Stephen, I was really impressed about the logics that you're able to do this dynamic risk management modeling. That there are specific layers that we are supposed to understand so that we're able to collect data, analyze it, and use it. And of course, there is a possibility to misuse the data in decision making. The nature of safety and security was highlighted in your presentation, and it's a really challenging task to understand what does it mean safety and security in specific cultures. We had the honor to visit Israel before the COVID-19 pandemic started, and as Matan showed us, we understood quite fast that you have so many really good quality solutions in your country, which is a smart country. And you have really nice resources, you have high-level experts as Matan and Steve is, we have here today with us. And the tricky thing is that we're supposed to choose the right technology to meet the needs that we have in the smart city of Tampere. That is relevant for us, and that meets the needs that we have in the city of Tampere, which is a middle-sized city, a bit more than 200,000 people. But as I showed you the pictures, the city is growing as the topic of our Smart City Week. So there we are inviting people to move to Tampere and to Finland. And of course, the needs may change over time. But how do we analyze the data, and what is the nature of safety and security were some of the highlights that I made out. And I really liked the behavioral analytics idea, Matan, that you showed us from the videos, that we are supposed to understand the behavior of people. And we're supposed to understand the sense of security of people. When do they feel safe and secure? Do they feel safe and secure when they see the cameras? Or is it better when they don't see it, but they know that they exist? What is the specific nature of the safety and security is an important thing. And I would say that we are in good hands because we have a lot of really high quality technology, and we also have understanding of the societal point of view that I made in the beginning. At the moment, it's the social exclusion question, and we are talking about crowds going to events, which is kind of something that you have to imagine at the moment because it's not happening yet, but it will happen soon. And the vaccination has already started, and people in Israel are almost all vaccinated. We are a bit behind.
Not yet, not yet.
We are following your tracks. So, so it is a complex question, as Steve said, and we have a lot of challenges, but we have a lot of really good solutions, and we have good understanding, and we are happy to have the experts. And we are going to hear a bit more about the experts for tomorrow. And Mr. Petri Nykänen, I would welcome you to tell us some nice pickups from the tomorrow's agenda. What we'll be having in our program tomorrow.
Anina, can I interrupt for a second? I have a question. Someone asked me a question in the chat. So if it's okay that I will respond to the question. Sorry if I interrupt, but I would like to answer the question.
Sure.
So someone asked Adrian if there is a misconduct alert has been notified, what happens after that actually? So the configuration of the alerts, actually this is a crucial part of the system design and the implementation, because many cities, many smart cities, and it's also in every command and control and every C4I system, one of the configuration problems and the implementation problems, it's the false alerts, because many cities are suffering and many systems suffering from a lot of false alerts. Steve, I'm sure that you definitely know what I mean, and you can maybe explain even more. So the sensitivity must be adjusted properly, and before you use the system, before you adjust any new technology, you must configure it and modify it so the system won't have false alerts. This is something that we need to test in the system in the beginning, and later on, after we implement it in the city, this is something that we must test, because if we have so many sensors and each one is generating false alerts, eventually the operator in the command and control room can have a lot of false alerts, and he won't recognize what is false alert and what is a real alert. So this is definitely an issue that we are checking, and this is something that configuration must be done properly.
Matthew, it's a very good point, and you're raising it. It's a significant problem. And one of the key challenges is understanding exactly what you're looking to achieve from the technology. So you can have sensors out there looking at a whole range of things. So unless you understand what they can provide back to you, it's very difficult to assess whether or not they're going to be suitable for that deployment. So, for example, you showed some analytics looking at people and people's behaviors, but that needs to be linked to something in order to make use of that data and that information. You can track a number of things through algorithms that will tell you what's going on in an environment that you're looking at, but it won't necessarily show you the context that that's taking place. So, for example, from an intelligence gathering perspective, if you're looking at a counter-terrorism issue like the experience in Manchester, we knew that from the video that that individual had been in beforehand, yet the system didn't know to be aware of something like that. So there's a disconnect there. So you have the data, but you're not seeing the right picture that you want to achieve. And getting these sensors in place and the design, on the slide I put up, it's achievability. Can it actually do what you think it is? And what you see at the moment in many cases are people trying to set expectations against what they see in Hollywood. And the reality of the technology is very, very different. It's a long way behind what people's perception is in terms of how we use it and understand it. And when you begin to link these systems together, it becomes very, very complex. And then for the operators in the control rooms, the way in which the system will alert and then dispatch orders to deploy people to an incident like a fight has to be seamless, and this is where the problems lie. So sensor technology, the use of the technology, and making sure the parameters of what it's going to do for you have to be very clearly articulated before you begin a process of construction almost.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Adrian Brown, and thank you, Matan, for noticing the question, and thanks for the responses to the questions, Steve. Then we would move on to Petri's show about tomorrow's agenda, and you can make some highlights out of the discussion that we've shared today.
All right. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, thank you, Steve and Matan, and it was very interesting discussion and viewpoints. And one thing also, when we were discussing earlier and a little bit preparing, I was thinking of kind of what the operating environments that we have, and they are quite different. And of course, every city is in different situation. But like what I liked, Matan, was your example of like 17,000 people town that has already like this kind of a smart city system. And if I think of Finland, like I think that many of the smaller towns or municipalities, they maybe lack the competence or the people that could actually build the smart city system. So in a way, like when we always are thinking that, okay, the size of Tampere and how we scale up and how we scale to different cities that are of the same size, I think likewise important is to understand how we scale down to the smaller cities and can also like build solutions that are applicable there. And of course, all type of SaaS type of models probably are one part of the solution. But that was I think that was interesting part for me and kind of raised some thoughts. Then on kind of on welcome to Tampere. First, I have to apologize for my voice. I hope I don't lose it, but like I have been preserving it for this occasion, as I'm a little bit down with flu. But like I come from Business Tampere, that is a non-profit company. It's owned by City of Tampere and the municipalities in the region, and basically we are here to help the companies in the region to grow and go international. And we also help companies from abroad to get to the local networks and to find research and development partners and so forth. And the way we operate our services are free. So companies who want to come here and work with us, like we are very, very ready to help. All in all, we are involved in many of the ecosystems in the region, and safety and security being one of those. But let's first look a little bit on the region and then on the program itself. So safety and security Tampere, like I would first start on the Finland level and kind of say that if you look at the international statistics on safety and security, like World Economic Forum is stating that it's the safest country in the world, like I think 3 years in a row, and then like the most stable country was another statistics that I dug up, and also Eurostat is stating that Finland is #1, like for 2019, for trust in police and the justice system. So from that point of view, we are in quite stable environment, but we all like acknowledge that the situation is changing, and the security environment is more complex all the time. Tampere, as a city in Finland, it has long history and also contribution to the safety and security on national level due to its industrial heritage and also its location inland. It has been very important for the defense sector, and it continues to be that. So defense sector continues to be strong in this area. Tampere is also a university town, and if you think of the ball picture or the sector picture here, like you could say that you have relevant research in all of these sectors in this region and at the universities. From that point of view, it's good to or easy to find both research and also on the company side development partners in this region. Also, like if we look at the sector picture, like industrial being the kind of in the DNA of Tampere, but like some other sectors are very strong as well. The cybersecurity is strong, and that is due to the fact that we used to have very strong, actually the biggest R&D side for Nokia mobile phones in the past, and the ecosystem of ICT companies around that is very strong. So the companies are working with Nokia, that still is in the region, but they are also very active in other sectors as well. So that is kind of a strength. And also when you look at the ICT sector, of course you see that the cyber security and actually the needs of the security, they go through all of the other sectors as well as ICT is applied. So from that point of view, like it's quite interesting to see approaches where we are combining the cyber in other sectors in this region. We also have Tampere Region Safety and Security Cluster, and I'm an acting coordinator of that, and we have this environment where you have the city officials, authorities, research institutes, voluntary organizations and companies working together, and the kind of the threshold to come in and to do collaboration is quite low here. But then onwards to the program. If you look at the Safe Society by Data track, I'm not going to go into the IoT part to the time, but like if you look at this first part of the program, Aalto University, Ilkka Lakaniemi will be talking about ecosystem collaboration and how to make the collaboration work between public and private sectors. So on general level, like kind of to paint the picture. Then we have like Ismo Paananen from Agendium. His company is continuously working with the public sector. He has more than 50 cities and municipalities as customers, and he has very interesting insights on their side. So Information Management Act following the GDPR is really keeping them busy, and also the municipalities are looking how they need to react to that. Then we have Rumble and a little bit different viewpoint. They are utilizing AI to estimate accident risks on the road network. So kind of at the risk level, I would say. So if you have specific road intersection near school, they can pool together all kind of a data and analyze and give you risk rating on that area. And of course, the point is to really be able to prioritize resources and to make data validated decisions. Then Digia, they have had this national 112 application in use, I think, for 5 years already. So they talk about that and how what kind of a journey that has been. And then Fujitsu will be talking about the workplace and how to make GDPR compliant solutions for the workplace. Then moving forward, we have this local company Radiator software that is basically they are working on radio servers. They have deployed those to near to 200 countries to my understanding, and they talk about topic that is close to us all, like privacy and traceability in Wi-Fi networks. So very seldom you think like in hotel or somewhere like who might be listening or what kind of information can be derived from the fact that you use the Wi-Fi network. And Kari will be discussing that topic and also like what are the latest developments there. Then we have really like one of the bigger companies in this region, Insta, like with more than 1,000 engineers and other professionals working on safety and security. They will be talking about drones in urban setting and in a way like how they see and how we have been collaborating with them on how this kind of a smart drone system could actually be kind of have multiple customers and ready to be deployed at short notice. So that is part of the presentation, and then the other part of the presentation comes back to the SURE project, Smart Urban Event Resilience project, and tells about the project, but also like instance role in it. And one of the requirements that Matan also highlighted was this crowd counting, and Henri Outsjoki will be discussing how they are approaching that need. Then we have like Petri Aalto from Nokia. They have basically productized this kind of AI-based image analysis solution and build a platform of it. And they will be discussing how this platform can be used in various industries. In addition to the Safe Society by Data track, we have a couple of related security safety related presentations also in the healthcare track. So Heikki Kampuri of CISEC IceWall will be discussing about the provability of network, how to collect digital evidence on cyber attacks, and they have a novel approach on that. And then another very current topic is how to build, deploy, and maintain a GDPR compliant COVID-19 application. So the usage level in Finland and how quickly the COVID application was taken into use was very rapid, and I think that part of that reason behind that is that the privacy aspects, your location and things like that, they were very well handled in the application by Solita. Then at the end we have like Annina coming back to the SURE project and also the possibilities on what we have been looking at and what we are building in this project. So that is in a snapshot, like safety and security related presentations. But I would highlight that in the IoT track you also have the safety and security present, and many presentations there are relevant as well. And more information from Business Tampere and also directly from me. So have a great conference and good to have you all here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Petri, for the really nice agenda presentation for tomorrow. So we are welcoming you to join tomorrow's sessions, as Petri pointed out, and we thank you for your time and for your patience today, and welcome to follow these really nice presentations tomorrow. And now we're all set. So we thank you everybody, and please feel free to ask any comments or questions from our experts. You find our contacts from the materials, and have a good evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Bye-bye.